Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and Apple released macOS 27 Beta 5. macOS 27 Beta 5 is available to developers everywhere around the world at the same time on all macOS 27 supported devices. macOS 27 Public Beta 3 should be out by the time you're watching this video, or later today. If it's not today, it could be a few days out, but usually it's right away, the next day after its release. Now this came in at a very large 16.94 gigabytes on an M5 MacBook Air, and this was released alongside many other updates. iOS 27 Beta 5, iPadOS 27 Beta 5, tvOS and HomePodOS 27 Beta 5, visionOS 27 Beta 5, and watchOS 27 Beta 5. We also got some RC updates that we didn't really expect. iOS 26.6.1, the iPadOS version for that, macOS 26.6.2 RC, iOS 18.7.10 RC, and iPadOS 18.7.10 RC. We believe they're in RC based off the build number, and we should see those very soon. Now let's take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to the Apple in the upper left, go to About This Mac, and as you can see it says macOS Golden Gate 27.0, and the build number is 26A5406E. This particular update does include quite a few changes and updates, and the first thing has to do with icons. You may have already noticed this, but I'll include the Beta 4 icons right next to it. Safari gets an update. You can see it's a little bit different. We have a little pin here in the middle, and they've gotten rid of quite a few of the little dashes here. We also have a new icon with settings. We have a new Siri icon. We also have a new App Store icon. And to go along with that, we also have a new chess icon, and this is probably the best icon here. You'll see chess here in applications where it's completely redone. Prior to this, it didn't look very good, but this looks much, much better. One thing we didn't get that's compared to iOS 27 Beta 5 is a new preview icon. Maybe that's coming in a future update though. As far as other changes, well, if we go into system settings here, and what we'll do is switch appearance to dark mode, then you can see the change. Here at the top, if I bring my cursor up to the top where it says appearance, it sort of highlights. So that's something they've changed. Also something they've changed is liquid glass. You'll see the actual preview for the glass look with Apple Park is a little bit larger, and we can scroll through it a little bit better. And if we're all the way to the glass setting, it has more glass and is a little bit more transparent. So this is something that's been updated. I think it looks a lot better. And if you like a lot of the glass look, you can leave that, or you could change it completely to tinted. But I prefer the glass look. But again, change it to whatever works best for you. Now, if we go to desktop and dock on the left-hand side here, they've updated this a little bit here as well, where it says desktop and stage manager. It says show items on desktop and in stage manager. Prior to this, it was sort of stacked below it. So it's more of a design change and looks a little bit better, I think now, or it's a little bit more familiar. Also within the side menu bar here, we have a little bit of extra space, maybe for some longer titles here, so we no longer have a ... after them, so it's a little bit wider than it was before. It's very little, but it is noticeable here. Probably right around here is where it was before. Now, if we go under Siri, there's some changes here. Now, for some reason, if we go under responses, or if we go under voice, it's not showing the new menu. But if I go ahead and turn off Siri and then turn it back on, so we'll turn it off here, we'll turn it back on, then we'll try Siri AI Beta, click continue, and you'll see we have the voice response option. Why it's not showing up for me yet, maybe it's processing still, but it does work right here. And we have all 7 options now under American, where we can change the pace and expressivity. So if we click on it, you'll see here,
for you. I'll practice some things I like to say while you listen.
We can change the pace.
You have one new message. You have one new message.
Here's another one. Your timer is set for 1 minute. Your timer is set for 1 minute.
And again, if we go to our options here, we can switch over to British, and we have the same options with pace and expressivity for voice. We have 4 different options here. Again, if I turn the volume back on.
Try this one out. You have one new message. Here's another one. Your timer is set for 1 minute. Now for some direction. Now for some direction.
Now for some direction.
Now for some direction.
Now for some directions.
So we have that option, but if I click continue, so now if I go back into voices, it's not showing again. So hopefully that new menu will show soon. I'm not sure why it's not showing, but it was showing if you turn it off and back on. Also, if we scroll down in our Siri options, we have a new option for automatic visual lookup. It says identify objects and places that appear in screenshots. So if we turn that on, hopefully it identifies things in screenshots. So let's go ahead and try that out, see if it can identify anything. We'll switch maybe to the wallpaper that is from Golden Gate here, that has the Golden Gate Bridge. So now that we're changed over, let's take a screenshot and see if it can identify this. So we'll just screenshot the Golden Gate Bridge here. We'll click on it, and I'm not seeing where it actually identifies anything here, but let's click on done. It saved it. Let's go back into it and see what it can recognize here. So we just have our normal options here at the top where we can sort of separate things out, which is nice, but it doesn't really show us anything. But if we go to I here, it would typically tell us it's the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's just showing where it was taken from the studio display and other things. So this could take a while to process or could be coming in a future update. Now, like I mentioned before, it's not showing up in voice, and you'll see here at the top, it says adding support for Siri is in progress. Siri will be unavailable until the update is complete. So hopefully that will be updated soon, and if it is, of course, I'll share it in the video. If we go back into system settings, and on the left-hand side here, if we go to privacy and security, if we scroll down, you'll notice it's changed a little bit. There's no longer a menu for accessibility, and it's been replaced with device control and data access. If we click on it, you can see the different data access it's asking for, such as Discord or ScreenFlow Helper that I'm recording this video with. You can see that here. So that's the typical things you would allow access for. It just no longer says accessibility. Something they've fixed or brought back is if we hold Command and then go up to our menu here, while holding, we can move the icons around now. So maybe 1Password or whatever we want, we can move it around. Maybe we'll bring this one over here, and then you can move that wherever you'd like. So that's something they've brought back. They've also fixed quite a few things in this update. For example, some people were having issues with parental controls, specifically in Safari, where it was causing issues where search engines would be stuck in a strict mode. That's now been resolved. So if you're using screen time that way with parental controls or anything else, that should now work properly. If we go into the release notes, you'll see here they fixed an issue with high RAM Macs running macOS 27 Golden Gate Beta where it might erroneously report file system metadata corruption that doesn't actually exist when running First Aid and Disk Utility or an equivalent operation. So that's been resolved with quite a few other things. App Intents have new features, there's resolved issues throughout, and pages and pages of updates here. So if you are having issues that you're not aware of, whether or not it's been reported, check this first. And if you are having issues, make sure you report them in feedback if they're not listed here. If they are listed here, they're already known and being worked on. Now, as far as future updates, if we go back into our calendar here, now, as far as the next release, macOS 27 Beta 6 along with iOS 27 Beta 6 could be released as soon as Monday. Based on what we've seen in the past, this is usually the case where we can have Beta 6 here, Beta 7 maybe on the 24th with an RC soon after that, and then maybe a public release in mid-September. That's typically what we would see. Of course, we'll have an Apple event with the next iPhones and everything else as well. But we could see macOS come a little bit later. It just depends on what Apple does. Sometimes they push that a little bit later than the iOS update. As far as other releases, iOS 26.6.1, for example, and macOS 26.6.2, we could see that as soon as today or tomorrow or possibly next week. We don't have any clarification from this on Apple's side, so we'll have to wait and see what they have to say with that. Now, as far as overall performance, I've only been using this for a couple hours, but it seems to be nice and smooth. I used it with a Vision Pro using the remote monitor functionality, and it worked just fine. It seemed to connect very fast, no real issues there. Running different applications was fine. I used Telegram, Discord, Safari, Mail, and everything else with no issues whatsoever so far. As far as battery life, so far it's been good on the betas for me, surprisingly better than I would expect. But if we take a look here, this one you'll see, well, I used it some, but not a ton. But really, I'm not seeing any battery drain more than I typically would, at least using this device. And as far as the battery health, if we take a look at it, you'll see I'm at 100% capacity, and it should be as it's fairly new. But general battery usage takes a few days to measure. Things have to finish in the background, such as Siri and indexing and more, so give it a few days to see what it's like there. As far as if you should install macOS 27 Beta 5, if you're on previous versions of macOS 27 betas, absolutely install it. But if you're on macOS 26.6.1, I would skip it at this point, wait for it to be very stable, released to the public. And if you have anything that you use regularly, whether that's Final Cut Pro or anything that's production related, I would probably wait even until macOS 27.1 is released. Usually I don't upgrade my main production Mac until I know everything's stable there and will work perfectly. So normally I would wait there, but if you have a Mac you don't care that much about as far as a few bugs here and there, maybe some battery drain, then go ahead and try it. Other than that, it seems to be a pretty decent update so far. Not any huge changes with macOS 27 Beta 5, but I am looking forward to the final release. Oh, and as far as Siri, let's go ahead and back into system settings. We'll go to Siri here, and you'll see it's done processing. So if we go into voice, it's now showing the proper format. So again, it took just a few minutes to update while we were recording this video. It seemed to be fine, and now we have pace and expressivity. So you can change that again with American, British, or whatever you'd like here. Hopefully we'll get more options in the future with Indian and the others as well. But again, these are processed on device. So it looks like it's working properly now. And now that Siri's installed, if we go back into notes here, if we highlight something, you'll see that we now have the Siri icon and it now says Write with Siri. Prior to this, it didn't say anything in here. And if we highlight something here, it will show up again. And then if we highlight it, we have additional options to rewrite and proofread and more. That part's not new, but it is something that's nice if you haven't used it yet. Let me know how it's going for you, and if you've found additional features, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link the creator in the description, along with the iPhone version that you can download as well. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.